You're watching World Championship Wreckage, professional wrestling history the way the fans remember. Brought to you by Rivet City Radio and the World Championship Wreckage YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Today's episode.
Whoa, 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 whoa. It's season 2, baby. We're changing it up. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Wreckage here on World Championship Wreckage's YouTube channel. It's the flagship show, where we have original thoughts and we voice those thoughts. So join with me, as always, the Will Gray from Botch Spots and Chair Shots, as well as our new co-host over at Cole TV. You know him. You love him. XLJ, the OG. What's up, boys? How are we doing today?
Pretty awesome. How are you?
Tired, as always. That's my tagline. I'm tired.
Well, you are a DadHat, so.
I'm not sitting at the cool kids table, but I like my friends that I sit with.
Yeah.
We'll be the outcast playing D&D in the back. It's all cool because, we're going to go on and do much cooler shits like later on in life.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Original content, original ideas. From original people. So anyway, folks, today what we are going to be talking about, I'm excited about this. As you guys know, if you've watched any episode of Wreckage, you know that I didn't plan this, but I'm wearing an NWO shirt today. But we're going to be talking about a little bit of how history repeats itself. And we're going to be talking about the Bullet Club and the NWO. There's a lot of similarities there. There's a lot of differences, but just kind of taking a look and seeing, really dive into, did history repeat itself? Or is it really is the Bullet Club just paying homage to one of the biggest factions of all time? So first off, I'm going to jump to Will real quick. Will, if you can just kind of give a brief, just kind of rundown history-wise of Bullet Club, big events. We don't need hour-long Kevin Kelly breakdown on YouTube, but shout out to Kevin Kelly. But just the big events. What developed the Bullet Club?
So essentially, what happened was you had Prince Devitt, aka Finn Balor. When he got to New Japan, they call foreigners Gaijin. Gaijin, Gaijin. And essentially what that means is foreigner, Westerner. You're not from Japan, essentially. And when Bullet Club formed, think of him as the essential, mafia don. You know what I mean? His direct underboss was a guy named Bad Luck Fale. He was a huge ass big man. And he was ultimately the muscle for Finn Balor, the substantially smaller yet shot caller, to the point that Balor would come out on his shoulders. Yeah. He used to come to the ring on Bad Luck Fale's shoulders.
Bad Luck Fale is what Solo is trying to be right now.
100%. Just pure raw heater muscle to the core definition of what that is. Then you add the Good Brothers, which were Carl Anderson and what's the other dudes? Yeah, Machine Gun Carl. Yeah, Gallows. Shit, I don't know why I brain farted there. I could not get the other good brother out. But when they joined, that was kind of the initial core four of who the Bullet Club was, because it was 4 foreigners coming in and trying to run New Japan as kind of like a mafia house.
Yeah.
Then you had a bunch of people come in and out. The essential line of leaders of the Bullet Club.
You can't forget Tama Tonga.
Yeah, Tama Tonga was one of the OGs as well.
He is. Yeah, when they came in, the essential leadership line went, and XLJ, you could probably help me here. It went Finn Balor, Carl Anderson for a short time, then AJ Styles.
Yep.
After AJ Styles was Kenny Omega.
Yep.
And then after Kenny is where it kind of gets a little wishy-washy, because you had after Kenny, you had Cody for a little while in the Ring of Honor.
Kind of, sort of. Then you also got like Tama Tonga over here, kind of like.
That's when to me, you get NWO Black and White, NWO Wolfpack, because you get.
Yeah, it really is.
The Elite versus,
Yeah.
And now it's almost like the Bullet Club is set up in chapters or charters, because you still have Team ABC and TNA. Chris Bay and Ace Austin, who joined the original line of Bullet Club members. Then when David Finlay broke off and he started the War Dogs, that was the answer to Bullet Club Gold. So you see, you've got War Dogs in New Japan, you've got Bullet Club Gold in AEW, and you've got Team ABC in TNA now. So you've got 3 almost charters of the Bullet Club in today's incarnation.
That's kind of anarchy version of the Bullet Club.
Exactly.
Yeah, it almost feels like, too, really, like all 3 of those factions, though, or those subgroups, have really gone away from like the Bullet Club mantra, too. I mean, it's just like they had, I would say, if any of them was still somewhat attached to the name, it would be the War Dogs, just simply for fact, because Bullet Club is a New Japan stable. But it's a far cry from what the original Bullet Club was to what the War Dogs is now.
Well, I was going to use this analogy later, but I think you guys would appreciate it as well. And the quick, like, lengthened or the shortened version of their history, when you get to the NWO's history and you get to that silver and black NWO and that 2000-2001, your Jeff Jarrett-led NWO, that's almost where we're at in the lifeline of the Bullet Club, is because we've reached a point where 10 years ago, it was the Bullet Club was a totally different faction.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? They were running Japan the same way. In 2001, the NWO was almost a joke, but 6 years earlier in 96, when it all started, like they were running at one point, they were going to split WCW into 2 brands, WCW and NWO. You know what I mean? Like, I would say this version of the Bullet Club is that version of the NWO, right at the last little life of what it had.
Damn, I hadn't thought about that at all. Like, Will dropping the damn.
It's pretty good. That's a pretty good analogy.
Not even 10 minutes into the show.
I said I was unprepared. The one thing I did have in my head that I was ready to use, I got to use in the first 10 minutes. It's on you guys now.
Bye. No. I'm out. Deuces. No, it's interesting. It's a very interesting analogy. It's like, so we're like, are we knocking on the door of like NWO WWE is like the next version of like what the Bullet Club goes into? God, I hate to see what that's going to be.
The irony is with AJ and the Good Brothers right now together in WWE, and with Finn and with God all there, we're literally as close to the OG Bullet Club we've been, because all the OG members except for Bad Luck Fale are all in the same promotion for the first time since 2014.
Damn, I don't know why they don't capitalize on that. I don't know why.
Right? Yeah.
You know why? This is me talking politics and wrestling right now. And this goes, no free shout outs to my stuff I'm doing on Last Word on Sports right now. But it's because wrestling's Cold War has started. Okay? CMLL and AAA is a regional conflict where their talent can't interact with each other, period. That rivalry is so heated that we've seen Roosh and you know, Dragon Lee and these guys leave AAA because they were forbidden from working with CMLL talent. You know what I mean? AEW partnered with New Japan. New Japan has a lifelong relationship with CMLL. Okay. WWE teamed with TNA. TNA has a very lengthy relationship with AAA. The two world powers have picked sides in a regional conflict that they have nothing to do with.
Damn.
It's a Cold War.
That's crazy, dude. It's so accurate though. It's like, wow.
I'm proud of that one. I'm proud of that one.
You better clip that, DadHat. Damn.
I've already written the article. I've already got credit for it, so you can clip it away. But okay. Yeah, like when I wrote that, I was like, this is, and I pat myself on the back a lot, but I was like, this is the best time to be a wrestling fan. Yeah. Because we haven't seen WWE work with this many promotions, and that's one with the possibility of two since 1992 was the last time WWE was this active in the wrestling world. So it's been almost 30 years.
That's crazy, man.
That's crazy. That's super crazy.
32 years.
So I'm going to be very honest. I don't know if y'all don't know this about me. I'm not that well versed in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I mean, it might be a surprise to you.
What do you mean?
Yeah,
this country boy from North Carolina doesn't know much about Japanese wrestling?
You call country boy, man. I'm an older emo. But so for me, I mean, I had always heard New Japan. Being a WCW kid, you know, New Japan. You heard New Japan and All Japan and all these things. You'd see Ultimo Dragon come over with all the 10,000 belts that he had, and you hear New Japan and all that stuff and everything. But again, being our age, it was tape trading and everything. But again, at that point, for me, I was looking for the ECW stuff, the violent stuff and everything. Like the Japan stuff I had was exploding barbed wire death match. It wasn't like really leaning into like New Japan Pro Wrestling. Like,
so need a death match and FMW stuff.
Yeah. I'm looking for that. The Teenage DadHat wanted the gore and the blood, the violence. So for me, I hadn't even thought about New Japan in forever. And this was not long. This was not long after, like, I kind of got back into wrestling after my hiatus. The Bullet Club was going on and everything. And right as I was getting back into wrestling and everything, Hot Topic started selling their t-shirts. And I didn't work for Hot Topic at that point. But I started working for them not long after. And so then I had their shirts. And I had people coming in there like buying them out every second I would get them in. So that was what kind of led me into being like, oh, okay, well, I remember this name, New Japan. What is this? So that's where I kind of started doing that research and everything. And so, especially by then, that's how I kind of went down the rabbit hole for New Japan. And then I remember just being like, man, like I remember even saying, I'm like, what is this? Like a rehash NWO? They're just changing the logo, changing the thing. And so it really did stick out to me from the get-go. And the parallels to me are, besides how Will has said it, how it has been almost like the segments of, you know, like black and white. Then we got black and white and Wolfpack. Then you got black and silver. And then, as XLJ said, you got the WWE NWO version and everything. Not only do you have that, you have an iconic t-shirt that is super popular. I still see Bullet Club t-shirts to this day.
The only New Japan shirt in my collection is a club member shirt.
Yeah.
Just putting it in perspective. You know what I mean? That's the only one I have.
I know at one point, and plus this was also working for Hot Topic at the time. I did get a discount. So of course I bought everything I could that was coming in wrestling, but that's neither here or there. Had the regular Bullet Club shirt, had a Villains Club shirt. Pretty sure I had the Cody one too with the cigars. Like I had a ton of the different club shirts as they started like kind of spawn off. But do you for both of you, do you think that Bullet Club would have been as successful as they were if they really, I mean, because they definitely started leaning into that NWO, doing the two, like, you know, in the first go around with Devitt and everything, he was doing the whole like pew pew. I don't know what YouTube's gonna kick me off for.
No, you can say gun on YouTube.
Okay, so
I could. Whew, the stuff we've talked about on After Dark, as long as you put a trigger warning up first, you can say just about whatever you want on YouTube.
Okay. You know, he was doing like the finger and everything, but then it's like it just shifted, and they were leaning into the too sweet and the, you know, it seemed more like that. You think if you take that a little bit away, is it still as popular, or do you think that they did that on purpose to kind of be like, because that's the faction that maybe the Japan audience knows the best?
XLJ, you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, here's the thing. I think it was over regardless, because it was something hip. It was something cool. It was something like against the system, right? You know, you talk about the Gaijins over New Japan. I mean, there was a couple that had like, you know, great success over the years, but like something like this, like a full blown, like a real like Gaijin group, really had never gotten quite over like these guys. And I think DadHat, when you add in like these elements from the NWO, they kind of looked at it from a stance of like, you know, there is a lot of similarities here. You know what? Let's draw in the old heads like us, right? And it worked for them, you know? And I think one of the fascinating things here with all of this, if you really go do a deep dive and tie it all in, is the fact that you think about it, the New World Order, where did that concept come from? It came from New Japan Pro Wrestling. You know, you go back into the 90s there when they were doing I think it was the Battle Formation show at the Tokyo Dome. And it was essentially, at the time, they had a storyline with New Japan against the, I think it was the UWF or whatever. And you essentially had a match with like your top two guys from the company, with Shinya Hashimoto going up against Nobuhiko Takada. So, and then, you know, like I say, Bischoff kind of took elements from that, and thus the NWO is born. I think it's fascinating how that all like kind of, you know, comes full circle, if you will.
I have the weirdest boner right now in my fucking life. I have never been more impressed than I am right now, sincerely, that you just pulled that out. Because never have I heard that until right now. And like, I'm impressed. And I'm not, again, like when somebody can genuinely rock my socks with a wrestling fact that I didn't know or have never heard at this point, I'm like, let's fucking go.
Right?
Like, that's exciting. That gives me a rabbit hole to look for now, because I've never seen that or heard that, because at the time, me and DadHat have spent so much time talking about it. Hogan dropping the leg, and this is the new order of the New World Order of Wrestling, that brother. Like, me and DadHat have talked, like, that rocked our world. You know what I mean? The idea that that concept was borrowed somewhere else lends to the idea that everything in wrestling comes from something else.
Yeah. Well, I knew that that had been, because people on different documentaries had said, like, you know, they did something similar in Japan and everything. But I mean, Will's over here, you know, getting a little boner.
Yeah, man.
I'm over here like trying to like find a pronunciation for those names in my.
And I may have butchered it, honestly. I know I got Hashimoto right, but yeah,
I was about to be like Gesundheit.
But it's just like I say, man. To me, it's so cool how like it just comes around full circle too, man. And that do you know what the thing is, man? These stories where it's like always, you know, against the system, you know, fuck the man, you know, like stuff like that. That's always going to be appealing to any pro wrestling fan. So I think that was kind of the appeal, obviously, with the NWO, of course, and also the appeal here with the Bullet Club, you know, because this was just stuff out of the ordinary you didn't see, man. You think back to the NWO and the stuff that was going on there in Nitro in like '96, man. Just think of the the stuff they were doing, you know, think of like the way they were filming stuff, like invading WCW, the behind the scenes attack. I mean, we're never going to forget when Kevin Nash threw Rey Mysterio into that trailer like a lawn dart, man. That was just like, holy shit, this is like real. They're calling the cops and stuff. Like this shit's going down.
Have y'all watched the first episode yet of Who Killed WCW?
Yeah.
Where Ray was like, "Can you throw me through that window?" And Kevin's like, "No, I'll kill you."
Yeah.
For me, I wrote down a couple talking points. XLJ's right. The tradition of the clique. You know what I mean? They took in from that because you were a group of friends who were, you know, outsiders from everybody else, and they had to have their own little group. They ate together, they slept together, they traveled together. They were literally, you know, the epitome of what the clique was in WWF. That's what these guys had become together in New Japan. That kind of led to the formation. I also wrote down, not since the Legion of Doom, because, you know, you think about in that 80s and early 90s push with the guys, and you had Vader and Legion of Doom over there, Hogan in 83 winning the IWGP Cup, Andre, you know what I mean, with Inoki slamming him. Like, that was the big thing. There were groups or single gaijin that came through almost in every era of New Japan. And when the Bullet Club started, that's what that was. But also the big thing too was something he said. It's the anti-establishment going against the system. To me, that also feels a lot like DX in a lot of ways, because they were going in and giving the big F you and the middle finger to the man. Bushiroad, New Japan Pro Wrestling, they were kind of talking about the things you weren't supposed to be talking about. They were making references to, you know, the stuff happening behind the scenes, and that was super against tradition in New Japan because kayfabe was law there. The idea that you would bring up behind the scenes happenings and the booking and issues with management that weren't characters, like they were breaking a lot of like Japanese traditions too. Like that's where I feel like it wasn't just NWO. And that's going to always be the biggest comparison. But there was a little bit of DX sprinkled in as well because of that, you know, fuck the system mentality.
One big thing that always stuck out to me, and it's one of the things that people remember the most about the NWO. But I didn't think about it literally till while we were talking, like y'all were saying different things, comparing and contrasting, and it just kind of clicked with me too about this. With NWO, everybody remembers the vignettes, the black and white, the grainy, like a handheld camera and everything. If you go back and you look at with New Japan, with the Bullet Club, where they were doing like those pressers and everything, it feels handheld camera. They're moving because they're literally like yelling into the camera and like, no, you're going to now listen to him and everything. It wasn't just I'm sitting at a table, you know, with my title now and everything. It's that chaos and it's that uncertainty, and it felt a lot. It wasn't black and white, but it felt a lot to me like those vignettes, and that was something that tied in that just made me think about that. So
you think about it too, like look at the time frame when Bullet Club was really getting popular and stuff, and look at the world we lived in. You know, like you got your cell phone, shoot the shit on the cell phone, right? You know, and post it on social media and stuff. You know, 96, 97, obviously, you know, that didn't really exist, but a handheld camcorder, like you say, in the black and white, that shakiness to it. So it still kind of had that like unique edge. Because I mean, also too, when Bullet Club's doing that too, you know, like, you know, let's face facts, professional wrestlers aren't using social media nearly to what they are in this day and age. So
not even close.
Yeah.
Well, with as popular as they both are, they eventually get to the point where they split, and we get two factions. So we get NWO Black and White Hollywood, we get NWO Wolfpack, and then in New Japan we get the Elite versus, what is it, the OGBC or BCOG? It's
the OGBC, I believe.
Yeah, like Fale.
It's all the original Bullet Club members, and then they kicked the Elite out because they were
the firing
against
squad.
The firing squad,
tradition and all of that shit.
and everything. And in both instances, I mean, they're competing against each other. Was it when New Japan was in LA and it was the Elite versus the Firing Squad and everything? That match was insanity. Like, they just kicked the living shit out of each other. Do you think that history will repeat itself again and we get a similar instance, or is it all right? We've had two very, I mean, it's so to me, these two are so similar in everything, and especially like when Bullet Club was super hot, you'd see, and I always remember this one video, and it was at Global Force Wrestling. Never thought I'd reference Global Force Wrestling here on the show, but Global Force Wrestling, and it was somebody from the Bullet Club in the ring with Kevin Nash, and like they two sweeted and everything, and people lost their freaking mind at this Global Force Wrestling one. I mean, they're just so, to me, it's Bullet Club to me is just an extension of the NWO. It's the evolution of that organization. Like, you thought it was dead, it rose from the ashes as like a phoenix. Do we get something like this again?
Well, I mean, history does tend to repeat itself, especially in the world of professional wrestling. I don't know how it would. I can't envision it, but I'm sure something to that nature would happen, probably. Where would it happen, though? I guess that'd be my question. What company, you know?
WWE.
I was going to say, could we see it happening in the WWE?
That's what I'm going back to that from the beginning of the episode. I'm going to hot tag in XLJ. Yeah. Like, when I brought it up at the first, like, WWE right now is the closest to being the OG Bullet Club that we've had since the beginning of the initial forming of the stable. We've got Prince Devitt, we've got the Good Brothers, we've got God, Tama Tonga, and Tongaloa. We've got, AJ Styles. The only person that isn't there is Bad Luck Fale. We have the initial lineup from the Bullet Club. This could be the resurgence if somehow, going back to the Cold War reference, keeping everything tied into the story of the episode, TNA and WWE would have to figure out how to get the rights to use it. Because right now, with New Japan owning the copyrights to it, that's the hang up. Because New Japan is working with CMLL and AEW. WWE is working with TNA and AAA. So for them to get the rights to the Bullet Club, they're going to have to work with a company that's working with the company they're not supposed to talk to, because AAA, and because they're not, pretty much admitting AEW exists currently.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
There's
a lot of politics, but I think WWE has the closest right now to us getting a full power representation of the Bullet Club, because I personally don't have anything against the War Dogs. David Finlay is not convincing me that he's going to lead them to be a strong faction like that again in New Japan. I think Jay White is riding the Bullet Club gold as long as he can. Nothing wrong with it.
Well, let me ask you this. When is the last time, I'm thinking in my mind here, on AEW, when's the last time that they've referred to it as Bullet Club Gold? I don't even think they refer to it anymore, do they?
They're listed as Bullet Club Gold, but they've been using the analogy BCG a lot.
Oh, okay.
You see what I mean? Like the whole brevity thing.
Okay.
But to me, like, none of these, even the smaller factions, Team ABC, Bullet Club Gold, or War Dogs, none of them seem strong enough to where they could bring in more members to get back to that level.
Yeah.
You take that original lineup, you put them back together as the club, and it will rock the wrestling foundation, because this thing everybody said we've always needed was the Bullet Club in WWE. Because then you could have the Bullet Club, NWO, and DX, all three existing in the same universe. That would be like Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield, all three existing in the same movie.
Man. And when you look at it as a grand scheme of things too, they're all on the same brand, except for Finn.
Yeah.
But I think you could do a story with it to where you have Judgment Day kind of break off or whatever, and then you've got, let's say, like where this bloodline story goes, and Tamatonga and Tongaloa, you know, leave the bloodline or kicked out or whatever, you know, because they're too ruthless or whatever. So you have like, you know, these guys who have kind of like been kicked out of their groups or whatever, but they know, like, they go back to their roots, you know, and get everybody together. Dude.
I'm just waiting for a backstage.
And you talk about a wrestling boner, man. You just gave me one, Will. Shit.
Just we haven't even seen them interact yet. Think about the first time the Good Brothers and God crossed paths backstage, or the first time Finn Balor and the Good Brothers and God crossed paths backstage. Like, we haven't even got that yet, and WWE is just sitting there with it in their pocket.
Yeah. Like, we don't have to use this right now.
No.
We've got how many years we have these guys under contract as a whole? Like
3 to 5 minimum for all of them, because everybody just re-signed. Finn just re-signed. Tamatonga and Tongaloa just signed. Good Brothers just re-signed last year. Like,
you know, Papa H loves that long-term storytelling too. So.
And Papa H loves Japanese wrestling.
Yeah. Well, folks, I think we figured out that history does repeat itself.
Yeah. And
it could repeat itself one more time. Sometimes history repeats with this exact same people, and we might actually get it here in WWE.
I hope so.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too.
That would be awesome.
Well, before we get out of here, because I know this is a shorter episode, but I got to work tomorrow, and I'm a tired DadHat, and I want to make sure these gentlemen get their beauty sleep as well. First off, before we get to business, I'm going to let y'all do some, as XLJ would say, a pluck-a-palooza.
There you go, buddy.
Yeah, I get that reference now.
Yeah. Will, shout out all your stuff. What's going on over at Rivet City Radio?
We have a ton of exciting stuff coming up. I have a independent feature coming up for Kieran Kwan, aka Tristan Tai from MLW. I'm featuring member of the Boomaye Fight Club, Jay Bougie from MLW and the New York territory. I've got both those features coming out next week.
Can you ask them an important question for me? Does pineapple go on pizza?
I knew we were going there.
I will ask Jay Bougie as a member of Boomaye. I will let him know, like, I need to ask you this.
Yeah.
Like, but I've got those two features coming up. Nerdy News has some really great stuff working. Me and Bridget just started Cowboy Bebop. I'm getting into anime for the first time. Me and Bo are about to start Peaky Blinders. Is going to be our Thursday show we're covering. So anime on Tuesday. You've never seen Peaky Blinders? I've seen it all the way through. Bo has not. So anime on Tuesdays, Peaky Blinders on Thursdays. Trivia is back this coming week. We've got XLJ. He'll be going heads up with the First Lady of Prolific, the Pro Wrestling Magic Women's World Champion, Ruthless Lala, and a third contestant that I haven't booked yet. So slide in my DMs if you want to. If you want to get all the deets for what I'm talking about, check my link tree, though, at the Will Gray. Everything I do for World Championship Wreckage, Rivet City Radio, Botch Spots, and Chair Shots, and my writing profile for Last Word on Sports.
Yeah. And I'm going to plug this, too, for it's not even my damn channel. Will just humors me and lets me show my pretty face every once in a while when I have time. But Will might have a special live in-person contestant soon. I'm not saying something.
Oh, yeah?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like it.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited.
All right, XLJ. What's going on with Cole TV?
Well, we got another exciting week coming to you here on Cole TV. Next week, of course, you can catch a brand new episode of Pro Wrestling 60, and you can catch it always every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, we're Mr. B-Roll, myself, recap everything that happened this past week in the world of professional wrestling, as well as we have a brand new episode of our show, The Hunt, as well as we've got another wrestling vlog coming to you, and this is a fun one, our Micro Wrestling League vlog. That's right. We got to attend a micro wrestling show, and it was pretty fun, man. It was a lot different than what I expected, but it was a fun show. So that'll be coming to you next week on Cole TV, as well as I just realized too, Clash at the Castle is coming up next week, so we'll probably have a prediction show for that as well. So
Cool. Well, as always, you can follow World Championship Wreckage on all social media platforms. If you have not already, please give us a like and subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. Well, Will, it is your time to pick the topic for next week. If you don't have anything, I will throw this out there. If you don't have anything in particular that you want to talk about, friend of ours, from our wonderful friend of the show, Smacking It Raw, Matt, would love to join us. And he's thrown me out a couple options if you want to hear them, and we can pick from that and have him on for our next episode, unless you've already got something figured out.
I've seen the list Matt gave you. So let's pick one that he sent you, because I would love to get Matt on here.
Yeah.
XLJ, if you've never met my the best way to put it, he's my heterosexual life mate. Matt Ritter. He's the host of the #1 wrestling podcast on places where people do the naughty. Yeah. He has a really great show called Smacking It Raw. And yeah. And I would love to get him in on this conversation. So what did he send you?
Survivor Series 01. He said since it's WWF versus WCW. Armageddon 99, which if I'm not mistaken, that's the one where Stephanie turns on Vince and joins. We get the start of the McMahon Helmsley era. Royal Rumble 2000. Hey, that's my favorite one of all time. Fully Loaded 98, which is, that's the sable bikini, which would fit very well with Matt and Smacking It Raw. I'm surprised he said this one. December to Dismember 2006.
Oh, dear God.
Either of the first One Night Stands or Capital Carnage. But he's like, I don't know if that one's actually on Peacock.
I would be okay with any of that. If you really want to get Matt's best takes, then Sable in the bikini would probably be the way to go. So Attitude Era 98 would be to get the prime example of who Matt Ritter is.
So Fully Loaded 98. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that okay with you, XLJ?
Absolutely.
I'm never going to complain about seeing Sable in a handprint bikini. So,
let's not forget about Miss Jackie too.
Yeah, it's a great watch. Yeah. It's a great watch for science.
For science.
Note self: don't watch when children are awake.
Children must not be present.
Hey. Maybe if we play our cards right, Will show up in his own handprint bikini. So,
Daddy, what's Iraq? It's a country in the Middle East. Go to bed.
Well, folks, we will be joined next week by Matt from Smacking It Raw. As always, for my buddies, XLJ, the OG, and the Will Gray, we're going to end the show like we do each and every week. Wise words from the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Once DadHat finds the damn clip. Here we go. Love y'all. Have a good week.
Yeah, baby, I got one more thing to say. Your gas tank is full. Your dipstick is in. Your windows washed. Y'all come back and see me again.